NAVI might end up going home. They're playing for a spot to go out of groups, but in the positive way. We'll get underway with the ban phase. NAVI will be starting on defensive Clubhouse.
Yeah, ban's going out right now. NAVI starting off with that Maverick ban, and MIBR says, you know what, that's a pocket pick sledge ban. This is extremely uncommon, especially on Clubhouse, and this will really affect the verticality of that basement bomb site attack, but that should just be about it. It will also, of course, impact the grenade utilization, because Sledge will always bring 2 grenades, and he's typically played every single round, and with him off the board, you might need to substitute nades somewhere else. Kite follows along, and then NAVI can say, well, last defender, what will we make that be? It will be the Wamai. Quite a staple pick as we have progressed throughout this tournament. More and more teams seems to be favoring this ban on a multitude of maps. Also, as Parker mentioned earlier, no matter what happens in this matchup, NAVI will have played all 7 maps, and as far as I know, they will be the first team to have done so. Hopefully, for their sake, they can do it on a W, but at the very, very least, they will do it on a loss. I mean, they're
really setting the expectations for them there.
7 maps is pretty good, whether you're losing or winning.
We'll talk about this a bunch throughout the course of this matchup, and we want to remind you right off the rip that there is a second stream going live as well on the other channel, Rainbow 6 Bravo. Go on over there because Team 1 are also playing for their lives. Here is the scenario presented. It was actually tweeted out by our analyst, Fresh, good old Jack. If NAVI wins 2-0, and Team 1 loses. Doesn't matter what Team 1 lose by, whether they win a map and then lose, doesn't matter. Team 1 is the team that gets eliminated from this group. If NAVI wins 2-1, so they drop a map against MIBR, but NAVI still wins, and Team 1 lose their game, unable to get a single map, then Team 1 is also gone. If Team 1 wins, doesn't matter the score, and NAVI loses 0-2, NAVI is the team that will go home. Now, when we say go home, there is still another day for these teams to play. We have our final day of groups tomorrow. But then, once tomorrow's finished, we go into the lower bracket and the upper bracket run because this is a double elimination event. Only 1 team per group will go home, and right now, here in Group A, it's going to be either NAVI or Team 1, and we might know who it is at the end of this matchup. We'll keep our eye on that, and we strongly encourage you to keep abreast of both games so that you can follow along at home.
It's so great seeing teams here at the 6 Invitationals, and it's so sad to see them going home, but someone has to be that one team, and right now fighting for our lives, we have Nath up on that top floor roam, trying to get active. Raps, of course, with the finger LMG, has a great gun in hand, and actually, MIBR, they 6-picked onto the floors. They want more explosive utilization. That's probably because that sledge is off the board, and you can do quite some verticality with the Retero drones.
It's a downstairs defense for NAVI, but Nath, and I just want to take a second here, Nath actually had to leave the lobby because he'd made his name Nafe, N-A-F-E, which funny enough tends to be the way that the British say Nath. He went from Nathan to Nath to Nafe, but now he's back to Nath. I was hoping it would stick. He was patrolling up top, trying to waste time. Not unusual for teams to roam heavily on a map like Clubhouse, especially when you're defending that bottom floor bomb site. At roughly the minute mark into the round, he's fallen off. So the drones will come out for MIBR. The discovery phase, as we like to call it, is underway. NAVI safely inside of the bomb site, patiently waiting for MIBR to continue to rip up the floor that we see happening right now. And a nitro cell will go. Some of the floor ripped up, but it's explosive from NAVI, and the very first kill of the series goes to Blur.
It's a really good opening pick, not just for NAVI, but for Blur himself. Blur's a player we've spoken of, especially on the analyst desk. We want to see more from him. If anything, we expect more from him. And he's been pretty quiet throughout this tournament so far. He's had his moments, especially hiding in corners, ratting around and making some pretty ridiculous plays. But on that scoreboard of NAVI, most players have been quiet. Dogi has some good rounds and some good moments, but Blur, he has to join him. He wants to join them. And so far, he's done just that with the opening pick onto MIBR's Finka.
The big focus for NAVI is whether Doki shows up. That is the question mark. That is in every single match. When Doki does well in a map, the rest of the team tends to succeed too. He and Blur will be the 2 kill getters, if you want to call them that. The fraggers, which is the official terminology. With the upper hand in terms of kills, MIBR now will walk in down a single player. Rayduct on blue. 2 EMPs left. And oh, he almost takes advantage of it. He actually gets the pick onto Blur before Nath trades it back. And with that aggressiveness, Nath just pushes right up. Still on blue, ever so patient. Doki there side by side with Lukid on his own. He gets swung on by Doki, an easy collapse for Na'Vi. Falls, takes it back with a kill on a secret lead, but saves with a shotgun. And Doki, to finish things off, gives Na'Vi round number 1.
MIBR had a pretty good entry into site. What you guys didn't see that happened was basically that they went out the kitchen hatch, they smoked off that church long hallway double door into church, they dropped down, and then Falls was kind of figuring out whether he could plant or not, but Navi had a player inside of dirt. Falls figured out he could indeed not plant, and MIBR trying to flood the bomb site and find kills, finding map control and opportunities to try and get the diffuser planted, but ultimately Navi, they had the better gunplay, they got more kills, and we all know when it's X versus 0, you always tend to win the round. Just like if the clock hits 0, defenders tend to take the round unless, of course, the diffuser is planted. Then you go into OT. And Blur, once again, on the Bandit, which we can basically say that this will be a CCTV bomb site, even if we can't see. Doki just wrote my name in chat, I think. He said, Yo, Pingu.
Yep.
I'm waiting for a message, but that's it. It's Yo. I spoke to Doki earlier on Twitter. He was tweeting out something like, Yo, we gotta play today, whoop whoop, you know, happy vibes. And I said, Doki, it's do or die. You gotta pop off, my friend. Doki got 2 kills in the very first round, arguably popped off the most for his team, as just Blur with 1, Nath with 1, saves with 1, but Doki, he had 2. So good job for you, Doki. You've now done what we spoke of, popping off. But 1 round is not enough. And MIBR, they have players of their own that'll be popping off continuously. So it'll always be about the next round, the next round, the next round until we are through.
Upstairs to Cash and CCTV, second defense now for Na'Vi. We talk about how there are 3 bomb sites that are most commonly played on Clubhouse, that church bomb site down below, Church Arsenal. You look up on the top floor, the very, very top floor on your screen. Well, no more. There you go. There it is. Cash and CCTV where we are, and then just a little bit to the left, we'll move over ever so slightly to Master and Jim. There is a bomb site on the first floor called Bar and Stock. We saw it yesterday. We didn't think we would, but it still popped up. So teams have been keeping some strategies hidden in hopes of catching your opponent off guard. With Thatcher being available, EMPs go off onto that CCTV wall. 2 Selmas tossed out. The breach is now wide open. The wall has been torn down, and that is decent timing for MIBR. But some teams will wait till the very end to do that. Others will open it up and then go about doing their due diligence elsewhere. Tons of hard destruction from MIBR in the hands of both the Ace and the Hibana, and some of those X-Kairos are used to poke a hole into the defense on the reinforcements of Garage, giving you line of sight up to the rotate at the top of rafters.
Yeah, so the reason why Thatcher being open is so good with the Ace is because the timing on the Selma charges, which is Ace's gadget, is quicker than that of Bandit tricking. So you can throw out an EMP, throw 2 Selmas, 1 goes on each panel of the wall, and the wall will guaranteed be open, practically rendering Blur on that Bandit useless. Now, all eyes are in secretly because MIBR, they want the Garage take. They do not care about Master Bedroom. They do not care about Gym. They want Garage. They want the server breach. Secretly, has the FMG, has the 1x scope, has the Toxic Babes. 2 already tossed out, and with 1:20 left, it'll be a more and more difficult position as time goes on. Not many players from the side of Navi can help out. Poor secretly, C4 gets tossed out, but Reduct takes it out so easily.
Not a single kill yet. 1 minute left in the round. Reduct will be the first one to do that, softening up secretly, and the smoke is unable to fire back, so he'll fall with all of his utility in his pocket to boot. That's not exactly what you want from an operator who try to choke off the attackers. Tons of time for MIBR now to position themselves towards the breach and get the default plant off. Is there a nitro cell below? That'll be the big question. We can see from the right-hand side of our screen that Nath is the only player that has an explosive at his disposal. Reduct's still on catwalk, and this is such a powerful position to be in. He can cut off the cross from Cash. He can also watch the top of Red Stairs, so lots of flexibility on his end.
Absolutely, and now Rita trying to cut off this radio door, and MIBR, they want to try and plan, but Falls once again push in deep. Velibox finds a kill onto Blur, but what now? Doki is next to follow, and MIBR, they have full side control.
Nathus is going to retake up top of Red Stairs. Diffuser surrendered, but there's just too many bodies from MIBR to watch, and like that, the bloodbath ends with it being Na'Vi on the wrong side of it. MIBR come back in triumphant fashion. bursting through the breach, taking control of Red Hall, and killing every single player of NAVI. In the process, these teams are tied up at 1 round apiece.
Normally, support players with the diffuser, they would like to plant down the bomb. Falls is a different kind of beast right now because he's in the position, he could be going for the plant, but he makes the call to his team that, guys, we're gonna do this, we're gonna push through, because if we start planting and 1c4 from NAVI hits us, that could be quite dire as time was ticking down. So they push on through, they utilize the man advantage that Redot had gotten earlier. Felipox followed up, then it was Falls, and then the plant doesn't have to go down, even though Falls gets taken out. There is a trade coming out from MIBR's side. They get the round, and now NAVI, they're going to bar. You just said, Parker, we don't see it very often. Yesterday we did. Both defenders won at once and attackers won at once. And NAVI, bringing out the mirror, I really like this. It complements the bomb site so well because typically teams want to extend up above and the mirror really helps you with that. You don't have a lot of information, you don't have a lot of good ground, so to speak. The mirror windows, they help tons with that element of the map. And Doki on the Valkyrie, and such an important operator because you need information if you want to use the vertical ground you've gotten by holding Master Bedroom. That's an issue we saw in yesterday's games where once the attackers had cleared out all the information on the bomb site, well, the defenders didn't know where they were planting. And then it doesn't matter if you have the ground up above because you can't floorbank somebody who you don't know where they are.
I mean, how many times on Clubhouse yesterday did we see somebody walk in and nade from below? How many times on Villa did we see the exact same thing happen?
Oh boy.
Teams are using their drones and those yellow pings to tremendous effect, devastating effect if you're a defender. Affectionately referred to as depth charges by Lycan. When a team gets below you and nades you, and there's no real counterplay except for holding that portion of the map. The only way to prevent getting naded from below is to play down below and stop them from being there to nade you at all.
Not wrong. I think it was Merc from TSN that tweeted out, if you guys had to guess, how many kills are from grenades, not just from below, but overall? And I said, rough guess, Merc, about 50%. It's a lot of grenade kills.
It is quite extensive. And even though we can speculate, oh, maybe you can bring a rook, etc., not always the suitable operator for that. So, as we are in his home country, we have to give a shout out to Bikini Body and his thought process, but ultimately bringing a rook does not solve that. Now, let's focus on the unorthodox occurring on your screen. Again, it's a bar stock take from MIBR, a bar stock defense from NAVI, and there's a small hindrance on that wall of stage. A small line opened up. The Selma's not perfectly aligned. That means that the attackers cannot just walk through all willy-nilly. They're going to have to crawl on in or try to take out the line in the middle. This means their job is going to be much harder. Teams do like to favor the plant by the bomb chassis, by the jukebox, but they can also go for one by billiards. First pick of the round goes to Raps, LMG in hand. You're going to see a lot of those LMGs available.
Here comes the
grenade as well. From below, a depth charge, but it misses. Doki sees the reader, sees the alert, and gets away. But does he know where they are below him? He'll drop and make some noise heading towards Lounge. The Finka is watching that intently. Raps lined up and could potentially get the kill. More spam marks in, but Doki doesn't swing the right way, and Raps is quite eager to take him down and cut him down to size. 1 minute to go, and Adrenal Surge burns off to try and give some extra HP to the MIBR players. There hasn't been a lot of this top floor control from MIBR. They're looking to get it, and they are doing it so well, almost flawlessly, but Blur swats away Felipox. Diffuser in the hands of Falls, the remaining 3 members from MIBR, tasked with finding Blur and his position. But he'll shoot through the floor. Does he know where he is? There's a mark, but he's going to completely miss the Diffuser getting planted down. Blur still from this spot, and he gets Falls, but guess what? It's given MIBR more than enough time to get upstairs with the diffuser down and the timer working in their favor. It's 2 rounds in a row for the Brazilian team.
Maybe you don't need information after all to take them out vertically, because I don't think there was any yellow pings there, but still Blur found an incredible wallbang to get the injure, but in a 1v4, that only makes that a 1v3, and that's just not enough. There are so many more remaining players from the side of MIBR, and I will say, NAVI. Now, that has 2 rounds in a row. Now, the first round on basement defense, you're playing close together. That's the nature of the basement bomb side. And you won the round. It was quite good. You traded out kills. Success. Second round of CC, we saw secretly on the catwalk rafters, all alone with no help. He died early. 5 versus 4. They lost that round. Now on bar, similar story. 2 players from NAVI fell completely alone with nobody nearby to help. No trade, nothing. And thus, being put in a 5 versus 3. The name of the game right now has been whoever has gotten the opening kill has also taken the round. Because in the first round, it was Blur C4 that got the opening kill. NAVI also got the round. Following 2 rounds, MIBR got the opening kill. They got those 2 rounds. So NAVI gotta play more together. At the very least, try and play for those trades. So if it's a 5v4, make it a 4v4. That way you're gonna be in even numbers, and you really need that right now.
NAVI in so many matches in this event have just looked off in terms of where they're getting pressured from. Every single round, we have to ask ourselves, how is NAVI communicating? Is there a breakdown in the way that this team is talking to each other? In his interview, one of the things that Nath spoke about was how secretly has been a fixed point for this team, bringing both guidance and also a stronger sense of IGLing for this squad. Well, it might work in the EUL, but in terms of international events, it has not really paid off for this NAVI team. And at some point, these consistent issues that teams bring to international events, well, you need to ask yourself what can be done to solve it. This is something that a team like Cyclops has struggled with, Sandbox has struggled with. They make it to a lot of events, but they don't make it out of groups most of the time. Right now, the team that most people have in their crosshairs in that regard is the Sonics, but they are proving everybody wrong at the moment. I think for NAVI, since their win in Tokonami, you have to look at them with a very critical eye because they consistently underperform on an international stage, and a lot of us don't know why that is. Something needs to be fixed.
Even in the EUL, they finished 8th place in Stage 3 and they got 3rd in the EU final. They lost their very first match against Team Empire, who's also here at this Invitationals. And NAVI, they don't have much LAN experience with this current roster at all. In fact, they have basically none. So this is really the first time these 5 players are sitting down together at a LAN event. Sure, they've bootcamped, they've met up before, they've done practice games and scrims, etc. But it's not really the same. I really wouldn't measure that up against the likes of playing on the biggest stage of the year of Invitationals. Yeah, it's group stage. We're all chilling, we're all vibing, but trust me, the pressure is on these players and they want to win oh so bad each and every round, each and every map. MIBR making good work of the map, but NAVI actually playing the clock quite smartly. They're falling back 1 room at a time and they've killed a couple of drones, and most importantly, all 5 players are now alive.
Very risky from Nath as the bullets rain down through blue, and MIBR just narrowly miss out on a very first kill. The last 2 rounds that MIBR have won, they managed to snag that first kill both times. So to do that again would set them up quite well. You see only 2 X-Kairos being used, and that will try to draw out the impacts from that NAVI team. Secretly will use 1, another one goes out, but he knows that it's just a matter of time because now 4 can be thrown down, and unless MIBR has been keeping count, that should be the kitchen hatch opened up successfully. But there's a Nitro cell from Blur on the Reduct. The Thatcher will no longer be in this match, but that's okay. There's no Kaid, so your Thatcher EMPs are not going to be stopping you, or rather granting you access to those hatches any better, because there's no claw to get rid of. All that said, while these hatches have been opened up, there's been no actual fragging outside of the single death to Reduct. NAVI look far more comfortable on this bottom floor bomb site, but now Doki is gone. That's some blue control, but not all of it. Nath is still in that position. MIBR just narrowing down NAVI's numbers, and MIBR has a substantial advantage, but there's not a lot of time left. And with things being dire, NAVI has just the diffuser to go after, a Nitro cell tossed out, and it connects both of them. Oh my God, Nath. What a shot. MIBR prioritized the player and not the explosive, and it ends with a bang. NAVI tie the game.
Almost every single kill that round from NAVI was from an explosive C4. Blur found 1 in the opening kill, and of course Nath literally closed out the round. I thought that would only hit the planter, but no, I was wrong. It hit both players. Raps and Phillypox both got downed by it, killed from it, and of course NAVI clawed the round back. What looked kinda dire, MIBR, they played the round smart. NAVI, they played the clock, but eventually when it came to the execute, MIBR, they struck from everywhere. They had 1 person inside a blue, 2-person motor door on the last player pushing up the long hallway. The 2 players left from NAVI's defense were just getting swarmed on the bomb side. But Nath, 1 dream, 1 C4, and 1 round 1 single-handedly. He's now 5-2. Back on the mute, back on the C4. Blur, same story. Back on the bandit, back on that C4 as well. And they've both done a really good job so far. We've still yet to see Secretly get on the board, and he's been playing crucial positions, which means 2 things. 1, it's important he does well. But 2, it's really difficult to do well in these positions if your team isn't helping you properly. Last time we saw CCTV, the defining factor for MIBR's success was they got catwalk control so incredibly easy. Nobody from NAVI was helping out secretly. There was barely any support, just the ADSs, and that's just not enough. So if you're NAVI, if you're expecting that same Garrett's take, I would love to see some help. Try and play inside of lounge. Maybe go downstairs inside pit in the basement. Hold that Garrett stairs walk up, if anything, to try and trade out off of secretly your catwalk player.
So this church bomb site for NAVI, very comfortable. It will not be available for the remainder of this first half. They've won it both times, and that's as many times as you can play a single bomb site each half. MIBR will run headfirst into Cash and CCTV for the 5th bomb site that NAVI will play. Looks like a successful bandit trick.
Oh, it's the wrong wall.
Wrong wall. Blur had it lined up, it sure seemed like, and then he just heard it wrong. That is a substantial blunder.
Yeah, that's going to make their lives a lot harder because there is no ace on the board. It is more difficult for MIBR to get the wall open, and with it being this easy for them because that 50-50 bandit charge, this now looks a little bit worse for NAVI, and more importantly, Raps, he's bringing out the Capital. The Wamai is banned. We need to keep an eye on that fire arrow once it comes out because secretly he will be lit up quite literally. NAVI this time around, they do have support. Doki's playing inside lounge steps and saves also on the catwalk window, which means they are doing what they should be. They're helping out their crucial player. When you got fire arrows coming at your booty, it's going to be hard.
I'm sorry, where?
The booty. The booty, if you will.
Of course. Well, those fire arrows can get caught by a Wamai magnet, but there's no real concern when Wamai is banned, as you said. So teams trade out. I guess no real advantage gained here by these kills.
But it's a trade. NAVI hasn't traded like this before. Either MIBR got the opening kill or NAVI did. Now it's 4v4. This is what they need to be doing.
Philippox inside of construction. There's a barricaded door. He's got the reinforcement on the wall next to him as well. That's where you assume those X-Kairos will go. Because it's the EMPs that are down, you need to make sure that you've shaken off all of this hard breach denial. Blur still has 2 of those batteries in pocket. I don't know where Nath was, by the way, but he's as good as dead. MIBR still inside of construction. The Hibana still over there. Falls is the one with the diffuser, not the Hibana. But Doki will swing onto it and take down Raps. Oh, completely blind. This is what you need out of him. He's an absolute animal playing off of the bomb chassis. 2 kills for NAVI. Secretly now, as well as Blur. The only 2 players that are holding things intact for this team. Ditto for MIBR with Philippox and Lukin. 30 seconds to go. Secretly, Bullet rattling away. He's managed to down Lukin. That means that Philippox is the only one left. And with the MP7 in hand, Blur will feast upon the player from MIBR, who in an act of desperation walks into the middle of the bomb site and gets shown the door. NAVI cannot lose the first half. They've taken 3 rounds. But on defense, on Clubhouse, traditionally, you want to take 4 of those rounds. I say traditionally because Clubhouse hasn't quite been so traditional here at SI.
No, in the beginning of yesterday, before any games occurred, it was a 38% defender win rate, which is terrible, by the way. Basically meaning that attackers, they win a lot more rounds than the defenders do. So far, NAVI proving that statistic to be wrong. Of course, MIBR could still tie it up 3-3. But going back to that previous round we just saw on CCTV, the opening kill, right? If that had gone in MIBR's favor, the 5 versus 4, it would have been a 2v3 towards the end there, making it a lot more difficult for Blur and Secretly to close out the round. So NAVI trading back the 1-for-1, even though it was a Thatcher that wasn't very huge value-wise on the board. In terms of gadgetry, it's still very, very important to just play together. And once you do it, you will find more success. I would say the LATAM teams are arguably some of the absolute best teams, arguably the best region when it comes to playing together and playing off one another. NAVI can learn a thing or 2 from that, but Secretly now as well, on that catwalk, has found a kill for himself and is on the board. He had good impact in the previous round. Now bringing the castle to the gym defense, that is also, once again, actually quite important.
MIBR enters this event as the lowest rated team globally, other than M&M, who are obviously not on the ratings because they haven't played at a top level and haven't played in any T1 events this year. But of the teams that have competed, MIBR is in the low 20s. So they come in, because of the way that the points are distributed in Latin America, it does skew the results a little bit. This MIBR team finished third, if you recall, in the top 4 of the 6 Invitational last year. They are no slouch. They've had a bit of a rough year, but they still have tons of potential. And despite their rating, they are very competitive in their matchups and can very easily surprise. So it's not a given that NAVI is going to be able to walk away with a win.
No, certainly not. And you always see the trick here. EMP, someone charging each wall. NAVI gets the opening kill into Raps. That's, of course, the finger once again. Second time in 6 rounds off the board. Parker, you spoke about MIBR having a rough year. They did. Stage 1, Lukid unfortunately caught COVID. He missed 2 of the first 9 games of Stage 1. Then in Stage 2, things were looking better until they weren't. Felipox had a shoulder injury, was forced to play with a controller for multiple games. And then in Stage 3, there were no issue, and they tied 2nd place.
I mean, it's been a tough year for a lot of teams, but for MIBR, it has been just a series of unfortunate events. I'll use that phrase yet again. If you like Lemony Snicket's book, then you will be delighted to hear me use those words together. That said, MIBR, well, they're not really at danger of going out in this group. The 2 teams that we have our eyes set on are NAVI and Team 1. We'll talk about Team 1 when the side swap comes in, as they are currently in action against OXG on the other stream. We'll update you in just a moment. Until then, all 4 bomb sites have been played by NAVI. On this very final defense from the EU team, they go to Jim and Master. They played Bar Stock as their tertiary bomb site before. NAVI seemingly more comfortable on this bomb site too. Church was their forte. Cash they looked better on, and now Jim and Master, everything is coming together again. With 1 minute to go, NAVI sit in a 5v3, having picked off both the Finca and the Zofia. Those are 2 hugely important operators for an execute, but the numbers for NAVI will narrow. Secretly down, Reduct in, they trade off. Felipox is now gone. Diffuser still in the hands of Falls. He's through the breach and heading towards the gym. He sees the legs of one player, but his bullet's unable to fully connect. Falls ends up getting it at the last second on his saves, but he is the Diffuser still. 40 seconds to go, and he's going to have to plant it, leaving Reduct in a situation to fend off those 3 players. Reduct just has been dropped down. So he's down, but not out. Even more on the shoulder of Falls, and he's walking towards a bulletproof camera and gets swung on by Blur. A shotgun to the chest. Game over for this first half. NAVI walks away with a 4-2 lead.
Yeah, NAVI looking a lot better on the bomb sites that kind of put you closer to one another. And that's kind of the name of the game for NAVI. When they can play close, it does well. When they're spread thin, not as much. And I think it also kind of speaks to the issues NAVI has been having this invite and also in the EUL Stage 3. They don't really have the most active players in the scoreboard. Usually, it's Stogie popping off and putting up great numbers. And when he isn't, no one really steps up to the place. And at Invitationals, the teams that are typically performing the best is because most, if not every single player, is so capable on pulling their own weight. And the difference with NAVI is just that that's not always the case for them.
So the first half in the books now. NAVI goes on to attack. Usually the worst side on Clubhouse, but like you said, Clubhouse was the most attacker-favored map in our map pool at the start of yesterday. We'll have to look for what the numbers look like heading into today. But let's talk about what exactly happened. NAVI took rounds 1, 4, 5, and 6. MIBR taking rounds 2 and 3. Both times MIBR won their rounds. They also got the very first pick. They got the diffuser planted in one of those rounds. NAVI got the first pick in every single round they won, except for round 5, where we have to put a little bit of an asterisk because both teams traded immediately, so there's nothing really gained here. The first pick at the moment proving to be a huge deciding factor in this matchup. Now, I'm going to say some spoilers here, and we're going to be spoiling the other game for you because there is more than just the result of the other game. There's an impact this has on the group. On the other stream right now, Oxygen is going up against Team 1. Mute your, or deafen if you don't want to hear what I'm about to say next for the next 10 seconds or so. Oxygen, at the end of their first half, leads 5-1 on Coastline, and that is Team 1's map. So Oxygen absolutely demolishing Team 1 at the moment. We'd like to remind you that depending on what happens, if NAVI wins and Team 1 loses, other way around, one of these teams will almost certainly go home today. That is something that we have to keep watching, because we might be seeing either NAVI or Team 1 being the very first team eliminated from SI 2022.
That we will, and so far we are on a basement defense with a heavy roam from MIBR. It's Lukid and Reduct up above, Philippox on the main stairs, and NAVI, they're trying to find an opening kill here. They know it's oh so important for them, and with all this pressure applied onto MIBR, they might be falling back earlier than anticipated. They do have the Valkyrie, they do have a bit of information. Lukid with the fastest operator in the game of Oryx, but not much mobility has been found just yet. We're still kind of creeping our way around now, making our way into Garage. They know this area is clear, but it's just about the only area left that is theirs, because NAVI, they have the main stairs, they have Gym Master Bedroom, and they also are going to start working their way into Bar. And that renders MIBR's roam rather useless, and they will say, we know that, we're gonna fall back, take this, and play the 5v5 on side, just like NAVI did.
Oh, they'll clear out that main floor. NAVI looks like they have it. 90 seconds off of the board, halfway point of this round. No timeouts taken either. I want to remind everybody that there's one timeout per team per map, not per side, per map. So either MIBR or NAVI can slow things down. NAVI destroying as much of the floor as possible. Next target will be those hard hatches. That is an interesting choice by Nath, using one too many of the X-Kairos. Need we remind you that Hibana can choose whether she wants to use 2, 4, or 6 X-Kairos per burst.
Yeah.
The only problem here with Nath doing that is that if Nath needs to juggle that hatch around impact grenades, that he might not have the same amount because he's now 2 X-Kairos short.
A very good point. I was going to say the same thing, Parker, but Philipbox actually running away. NAVI doing a good job at the vertical play, even using Sophia's stones to make sure that this breach goes through. Nave likely doing a good job communicating that he kind of messed up earlier. He needs more support to ensure the breach goes through, because if it doesn't, that would be extremely bad for NAVI with just 20 seconds left.
And it's Raps and the Oryx of Lukid watching the drop that's going to come in through the kitchen hatch. The rest of MIBR are over by Church, and they are not particularly interested. As NAVI now heads down, Nath manages to evade that toxic canister, getting the diffuser down. Doki, a big double kill, looking for more, secretly falls. Nath is down, but the diffuser goes successfully. Rayduck tossing out a nitro cell. He sees both bodies, catches Blur in the process, but it's a 2v1, and from above, quite easily done, is saves, and his next map here at the 6 Invitational, NAVI, for the moment, looks far more comfortable. Though I will say that even though those 5 rounds were won by NAVI, some of them were quite close.
Yes. Multiple rounds are close, but the one thing they have in common is that, yeah, last 4 rounds went to NAVI, last 4 opening kills as well also went to NAVI. So still the name of the game for this match, and that seems to be a reoccurring factor across multiple games. Who would have thought having more players alive would actually benefit your team? I don't know. You know, sometimes in Europe we think of like Shaiko, Citizen from T2, etc., where they can just, I mean, we can also talk about Liquid all we want. I feel like we always praise Nesk and Pablo, but that's because they are so good. Having one of those players on your team can sometimes account for 2, if not 3 players of a different team. That's just how lethal some of these players are. And in this game, it's not much different. Most players in this server, if not every single player at this event, is oh so capable of doing great things, but everybody plays different roles, right? We don't expect Secretly to drop 20 kills every game because he's on the supportive role. He brings guidance, IGL leadership, and of course, operators to match. Then we see Doki. Sometimes, most people expect that guy to drop 15 kills every single map when he doesn't. That's him performing poorly. But think about that. Not dropping 15 kills is you playing poorly. That just sets the bar so high for the expectations of yourself and your team. And right now, Secretly getting open the wall. There really wasn't anything in Secret's way. They did, or Secretly's way. They didn't even use an EMP. So MIBR not really playing around that EMP economy with the mute.
Actually look very far back at the bomb site. Give me a top-down look for a second here, if we can, please. Yeah, it is completely vacated. The only 2 players that are holding close to the bomb site, they're playing aggressively near it, were what we saw, the smoke on the top of rafters, and then I believe there was another player over at the top of red. First pick goes to NAVI yet again. Rayduck decides to engage on the jacuzzi breach that's been opened up, and it is not a particularly smart idea. NAVI was prepped and ready for that. They get the early pick, and they have 2 minutes essentially to work with MIBR at a numbers disadvantage.
Yeah, and we saw when MIBR was attacking CCTV bomb site, they always went for a garage take, but NAVI doing the opposite and going for that jacuzzi split take with construction as the end goal. You basically want to open up walls on both sides, making it very difficult for any defenders to have any safety inside what you would assume would be the safety net of the bomb site itself. Nave might just get a gunfight here, but Doki's there to support. Beautifully done by NAVI, now playing more together, and this wall will get opened up very briefly because there's EMPs left available from saves, hard breach on both Secretly and Nave. Now, MIBR, they have to find something going for them here. They do have Toxic Babes. There's no C4s at all. And sure, they even have a single bulletproof inside of the bomb site, but that's not going to help you, especially if Felipox is injured.
All of NAVI now getting in on the fun and a flawless round shaping up. Felipox is still down. That leaves Raps in a 1v5, and it's an 0v5. Match point for NAVI. They're making quick work of the Brazilian team, and a flawless 8th round is what gives them that match point.
Absolutely. Flawless round for NAVI, and you know what the funny thing is? That was a timeout from MIBR. That is arguably one of the more sour situations, I think, in Rainbow Six Siege. You take a timeout, the one you have for this map, and then you lose. But you don't just lose, Parker. You lose in a flawless sweep from your opponents. So what do you do next? I think if you're MIBR, you will just run your head into the wall and just want to break it. Because right now, NAVI, they are putting up a wall in front of you, and you're failing to do enough damage to overcome it.
NAVI swapping off of the Zofia over to the IQ. Swapping, whatever. Swapping, whatever you'd like.
Swooping.
MIBR has every single bomb site open. They can go back downstairs if they want. They can go to cache CCTV again. But no, they decide, let's go with a full rotation as if we were winning. Maybe that's some kind of motivation for them. But either way.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't think it's a bad idea if you're MIBR. You want to try and figure out how can we break apart NAVI. You tried on basement, didn't work. Tried on CC, didn't work. I mean, definitely didn't work. Flawless round. Now you're going German. I think that's the right way to play it, right? There's no reason to repeat the same bomb site if it wasn't even that close. And sure, the basement one in particular was a 5v5, sub 20 seconds, crazy amounts of chaos, and a few kills go in the favor of NAVI, really swayed the round into their side. But again, MIBR, I don't think it's bad for you to try out different stuff. We see Raps even throwing out a Valkyrie camera on this side of Jacuzzi. That means they can try and play off that, and I hear something crazy going on the other stream. I don't know who is winning, but...
That sounds like Team 1 shouting.
It does.
So, I mean, Oxygen is not that upbeat of a team.
Usually it's just lads from APEC being that loud, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Twitch.tv/Rainbow6Bravo if you'd like to take a second and watch what's happening on the second stream. The North American team Oxygen is going up against Team 1, and there's actually a comeback brewing right now. I'm not going to tell you which team is coming back, but that game is tightening up. It looked like it was almost certain. Could that potentially mean anything here? No, I guess not. A Nitrocell goes out, Blur with a tag, but he doesn't accomplish anything, and now Doki is the one in the line of fire. He'll hit the Adrenal Surge to give himself a little bit more HP, but the Nitrocell from MIBR is good enough to give them some breathing room, having taken out the IQ. What on earth did we just witness?
They're storming back to the bomb site together, and this is the first time in 5 rounds that MIBR has gotten the opening kill. And not just the kill, but Doki also taking a ton of damage. Of course, Doki still has 2 Adrenal Surges left. He can top himself up, but other than that, only 1 grenade going from the side of NAVI. They don't have a lot of ways to clear utility, and MIBR bringing both multiple shields, 2 of those in fact, and also bringing the Maestro Evil Eyes. This is going to be really difficult for NAVI. I think MIBR did a good job on selecting the bomb site.
NAVI do not want to go for that Jacuzzi entrance. You see there's a black eye cam there, giving all the intel in the world to MIBR as to whether or not an attacker will head on through. Instead, because you have that cam up, you don't need to keep any actual human presence over there. The robot, the camera, will do its job while you can watch it safely, maybe inside of logistics or maybe inside of the bomb site. Final minute now to play. NAVI still on match point. MIBR need to be perfect to now go to overtime. Before that, we said they could win out in regulation. That is no longer a possibility. With NAVI trailing their job, not significantly harder losing Blur early as you talked about.
Yeah, it is difficult. It's the IQ off the board, doesn't bring the most utility, but of course, the Valkyrie cameras is going to be difficult to find from the side of NAVI, and well, they need to make their way through with very limited utility. Doki on the windows with no grenades left. It'll come down to a bloodbath of gunfights, but I think NAVI in the situation, they might have a chance with the LMG in hand, but MIBR, of course, they have 5 guns against 4.
That's a shot opportunity for Nath. Just missed. You can see the amount of MIBR players on cams right now. There comes Doki from this angle, waiting for the call to swing out, and it's onto the alibi. He can't really do too much. No adrenal search for him to be able to get back up. He uses it at the last second, actually, as that bloodbath comes. Nath on low HP. He needs to get the diffuser down with saves watching, and he'll do just that, flashing on in, but he wants the gunfight instead. He's flashed himself, and he gets picked apart with saves nowhere nearby. MIBR win with a member of NAVI still up because the clock is the win for them. This is a tough spot for MIBR to win, but they need every single round from here on out to go to overtime. That is at least a spirited performance for them to pick up their third round of the map.
Yeah, we see some smiles now coming out. They found their ground for the first time in 5 rounds. Opening kill and the round to go on their side. They're now looking to go back into church. A bomb site where, as I mentioned earlier, it was 5v5, sub 20 seconds, and it ended up in the beginning with MIBR roaming around the map. This time around, they are hovering the mirror, but they will be 6-picking off it into ... the Maestro once again. They really want to play around the soft breach utility, and that's where Navi fell short in the previous round. Blur recognizes that and actually picks the Valkyrie, or sorry, the IQ, but 6 picks it off into Sophia because they want more explosive economy to deal with these challenges. I think it makes sense, and if MIBR gets in that early roam to slow down Navi, I think that's going to be their best bet, because if you're not going to be roaming on Clubhouse, you just give attackers so much time and so much room to pick apart how they want to attack and approach it. When Thatcher open especially, that just means it's absolutely free real estate. Church wall, you can breach that. Hatches, you can breach that. Kite isn't even played because it's banned. And there's no wall deny from the side of MIBR. So that means you have to roam. You have to be active. You have to try and leverage an advantage somewhere in the early round.
Navi still have plenty of opportunity. They've also got a timeout. If you look at the way that teams use timeouts, more often than not, a single timeout will net you at least 1 round. If that's all that you need, then Navi will be okay. I mean, that's not always the case, and that's very simplistic. People, I already know that there's people prepping their... Go ahead.
Parker, it's not always like that, you know, sometimes it's different. I know what they say. I'm not one of those people. I think timeouts are great. I think they're fun. And I think oftentimes, or sometimes at least... Oh, who's not having fun right now, Parker? It saves.
Oh, there was an engagement early on. Luka took a beating. He'll get back to the bomb site. Thunderbird is an operator that can easily heal you back up. She's not present. That's the only one right now in the current meta that could help MIBR, and also worth noting because we do see a fair bit of Thunderbird on some of these maps. Maybe not on Clubhouse, but on Oregon, on Chalet, yes, we do. And those happen to be the next 2 maps that we're going to go to, so maybe she'll show up. Either way, Luka's not going to be able to get back at all. Thatcher was the operator who died.
Yep. But there's no wall deny from the side of MIBR. So again, not a huge pickup from them. Sure, it is still a kill. Opening pick, we know it's so important, but Navi still has all the tools they need. They can breach any wall, any hatch with this Thermite Hibana combination. Last time, it was majority from Navi coming from that kitchen hatch with Doki making chaos, I believe a moto door or long hallway. But when MIBR having these Valkyrie cameras alive still, they're going to have more info than last time on the whereabouts of Navi and where the execute will come from. That's going to make Navi's life a little bit more difficult, especially seeing as, well, saves isn't there to help them.
Oh, lots of soft destruction still from Navi, but they've doubled up on the hard breach. There's no sledge on the board for them, no buck being brought either. There are teams that only use the buck as more of a pocket pick. This is the 1-minute mark, and that Vector of Felipox has found its second target. It's on to Blur. Down goes the Zofia. Navi just surrendering far too much before actually pulling off the execute. The last time that Navi attacked this bomb site, if you'll recall, it was a 5v5 plant with Nath getting off at the last second and dying, and the killing beginning right as that diffuser got planted. Absolute bedlam in the bomb site. This time around, if Navi tries to engage with that, they'll be in a significantly weaker state.
That they will, and you see here the impact trick coming out from the side of MIBR. It is Redock to slow them down, but I believe the hatch got opened eventually. I don't think it'll matter much for Navi, but Doki creeps on in from long hallway, finds the opening kill onto Redock. Can he find a second? No, he cannot. Felipox shuts it down. Look, it follows up. It's Nath single-handedly on the bomb site, but nothing to find. MIBR, 4th round on the board, and now the comeback begins.
Really wild stuff from MIBR, playing aggressively on the main floor, then transitioning, and you talk about how teams have a soft timer, a soft clock that they follow. It hits the 1 minute mark, it hits the 90-second mark, and we need to get back to the bomb site. Well, usually you do that without any altercations. MIBR got a pick, and they got the pick off of it quite well. What do you...
I'm just really surprised NAVI didn't call a timeout. I feel like this would be the opportunity, right? You've lost the last 2 rounds, lost the last 2 opening kills. You're on the attacking side. Things aren't really working out for you. And if you don't win this round, well, then you're just even more close to OT. Of course, you can argue that last time around NAVI was attacking CCTV, they won the attack. And they know that MIBR have to go CC or bar because they've locked gym and they've locked basement. They need to go to a tertiary bomb site. That's the only reasoning I can make up in my mind for why you wouldn't want to do it. Or perhaps you still believe momentum is in your favor and you don't want to give MIBR even more time to settle in and get comfy in their shoes.
Cash CCTV, another defense for MIBR. Prior to this run that MIBR went on, NAVI won 5 rounds in a row, the last one flawlessly to move to map point. But MIBR now storming back. They took a timeout, they lose the next round, but have been significantly better since then. I think they're playing far more restrained. And when I say restrained, they're actually playing more aggressively as well, but they're not playing recklessly. So it's kind of a channeled anger, so to speak. I wonder how NAVI is going to approach this particular problem. They've got 2 hard breachers again rolling with that Thermite Hibana combo that they have quite enjoyed so far on this map. Soft Destruction 2 for them, and a Finka just as the beautiful bow to tie it all off.
Yep, pretty consistent operator picks across the board from both teams actually. The only difference from MIBR is that there is no Maestro this time around, but they do have the bandit to slow down NAVI. But as you said, Parker, the Thermite Hibana Thatcher combination, Doki with the Natus, well, name a more iconic duo than Doki and opening pick. That's Lukit off the board on the Melusi, so her gadget will live on and still do damage. But again, the gun is off the board. That's Doki's 12th kill as well, by the way, so he's sitting quite nice up there up top. And NAVI, last time around, they went for a server breach into a master take. Right now, they haven't gotten that first step. They haven't breached the wall yet because Reduct, he's successfully tricking around secretly. Although, maybe at the very end here, they will finally get the wall open. Bada bing, bada boom. There it is. Now NAVI can start progressing through the map. They have a decision to make. Will it be They're already in garage. They already got it.
You're gonna ask, what are they doing?
Are they gonna go garage? They're already in garage. They got it. With 1 minute and 40 seconds left, that is not good for MIBR, Parker. This is indeed terrible.
Quite slowly taking up more and more space on that catwalk, on rafters. Reduct has his eyes turned towards that particular area. He doesn't need to watch the main walls that have been opened up, as you spoke of. Falls droned out by the main door, so he will head back towards red stairs, and now some of that reinforcement on the wall leading into the B-bomb has been taken apart.
That it has, and now we need to see what will NAVI do. They droned out Falls down below. He has a C4. NAVI should know this, but Philippox playing beautifully around it, making sure that his friend is not alone. Now, running to that pool window, might go for a cheeky jump out or a peek or a swing. Doesn't find anything, but back onto Nave, who's starting the plant, but Falls finds a kill. Has C4 down below, doesn't toss it just yet. Nave almost gets the plant. 1 second, sub 1 second, smoke comes out, and C4. It's the team kill that takes him out somehow amongst the chaos.
It looked like the Nitro Cell was going to work, by the way, so it doesn't matter who ends up killing him. A scramble in the post plant now, saves on Repel. He'll have to watch for a run out potentially. Blur down for the count, and saves is very vulnerable. A run from Garage, he spots it, and he's just going to continue to be hunted. Pops up, nicely played, but they charge at him down on the ground. Where's he going to go? He manages to almost make it to safety. They have 12 seconds to get in. Will they get there in time? It looks like an almost certainty. Falls is the first one to charge in. He's got 4 seconds, 3 seconds. He's there in time. If it had just been a half second for Saves to get up on the balcony, that would have been the ball game. But MIBR get the pick, get back inside, and then get to the diffuser in time. We will need the 12th round to settle this. NAVI was up 6-2. What happened? Well, MIBR woke up. And now we have a competitive match between the two of them.
That's gotta be your timeout right there. There's no way, right? Do you just stick it? Do you just go all the distance, all the way?
Yeah. And it is. Okay. It is their timeout.
Good. I'm really happy, NAVI. Great job for you. I would have liked to see it last time, but I'll take it now if I can. MIBR managed to scramble back that victory. The Toxic Babes came out, they thought that was gonna be enough, then they figured out, oh, Nave is already deep on plant, C4 came down below from falls, ended up with saves, team killing, it wouldn't have mattered. You're right, Parker, the C4 did get tossed, it would have taken him out regardless, it didn't matter at all in the end. Saves. In that 1 versus 4, had 2 players injured and wanted to reload before going up to the platform. That slight hesitation really made a difference because he was about 0.5, so half a second, off successfully getting away with that round. If he had gotten up to that balcony, he would have been safe and could have just held the walk-in from Garage, of course ensured that NAVI would have finished it up on their side. Now, NAVI, they can talk about how do we approach the next attack. We know it's going to be a gym defense or a bar because basement is locked, CCTV is locked. This means NAVI has good information because bar over gym, undoubtedly, unlikely. It's most likely going to be a gym.
Happening. MIBR starting to add tally after tally to the scoreboard for the defenders. NAVI taking that timeout. You speculated in the last round that it might have been better for them to do it at that point. Instead, they'll do it now. We'll see what they can do to settle down. If you look at the lineup that's being brought by NAVI, nothing has really changed.
No.
Nick, it's a pretty standard stuff. It's a Yana, a Zofia, and a Thatcher, bookended by the 2 hard breachers. As for MIBR, again, they like this lineup, tons of information. But I will say the one change that NAVI did was the last time they attacked this bomb site, they brought an IQ. That IQ is no longer present. Blur died early. The gadgetry from the IQ unable to spot any Valkyrie cameras and pinpoint the rest of the layout, the gadgets and the layout on the bomb site. So will a Zofia be any more impactful? I have to say, presumably.
I will say Blur opted to use his gadget for that hatch instead of the breaching charge in his pocket. Not sure if he thought he was playing a Claymore or just was afraid of a C4 passively with the sound cue of him placing it on the hatch. Either way, Blur has been the flex player of NAVI so far. He played the IQ, played the Finga, he's playing the Sophia currently, with the 150, getting that LMG weaponry on his side. That is something that we started to see more and more in the last couple of months. LMGs are really present and really strong right now, and I think it's also a great gun because you're playing against defenders who doesn't have that many bullets in their magazine. They don't have as many long-range scopes either, so the gunplay favor is really on your side, and now Blur will take advantage of just that. He will creep up the main stairs and try and get a freebie. Remember, there's no barbed wire or anything on this staircase. I don't think MIBR are aware. Hold your breath, Blur. You might get opening pick. It's match point. You need something right here. If not, then it will be bad. If you die, you put your team in a bad position, but it's Lukid who falls. Blur finds the opening kill, and that's going to be great for NAVI.
And I don't know if MIBR had any idea that somebody was in such close proximity. They've now tagged Felopox into the ring. He's not too far off. Blur might have heard this. Certainly seems to have that sixth sense that we've talked about a few times, as I don't believe there was a drone present on the bottom floor. So this is just sheer luck. And Felopox swings. The guns from MIBR are so good. Every single LATAM team can easily beat you in the fragging department. Doki answers back on the Felopox. The team's at a 3v3. You'd also lost Nath too. That's the Hibana down for NAVI. Not particularly damning, but with some of the hard destruction done, the job of Hibana might not be as critical.
Yeah, they still have Secretly, he still has 1 charge left, but you know what? MIBR, they don't have the Maestro much longer. He's injured on the mattress. There is verticality below him. I think Doki sees him as he's trying to creep away. The backpack, the head gets found. Nice job from Doki. 3 versus 2. 1 player inside of construction and 1 player inside of office from MIBR. They're very far apart. They don't have a crossfire just yet.
I like the crossfire that can be had, but
Yes.
their one blind spot, if they don't move, is going to be Jim. So secretly, with the diffuser in hand, we'll prioritize that part of the map. There's not a lot of intel for NAVI. They've only got 15 seconds to work with. There's a Maestro cam up, and next to the bomb chassis, that plant will go down. Wraps the last man standing, tossing out a nice C4. Hucked out, but it misses, secretly re-engages, and it's Doki to end a potential comeback. MIBR, so close, but close again. Doesn't particularly count. By a score of 7-5, NAVI survive a scare and take their map.
Basically, every single round went into the side who got the opening pick. It was Blur.